New bike day, Master Bike Co. Courttek. Let's get into it. Jackson here. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm excited for today's video. I've been waiting for this frame for a very long time, like a lot of you out there. It's the highly anticipated trick track frame from Master Bike Co., the Courttek. It's been in the making for over 3 years, and there's a lot of really cool stuff going on with this frame. I spent some time with Kareem. I was able to get the inside scoop on some of the features with this frame. Without much further ado, let's see what this looks like. I was thinking about faking this unboxing, but I've already opened it. I've already looked at it. I was too excited and I didn't really feel like filming it, so I put it back in the box for this video. Gotta get all this shit out. Look at that beautiful frame. The Courttek in all of its glory. I don't think that any frame has been more highly anticipated than this one, and I feel really lucky that I was able to get my hands on it because these things sold out so quick. So let's talk about what makes this thing so cool. First up, this is the raw version, the J-Ball Signature. There's two other colors, but I kind of wanted something that wasn't super flashy. I do really like these graphics on here. They're killer. It's even got a little JB for, well, it's for J-Ball, but it could also stand for Jackson Bradshaw. Gus Molina did all of the graphics for the Courteks, and all of them are incredible. This is the size large, which is technically a 56. It's gonna be a little bit bigger than the MASH frame that I currently have, but slightly smaller than what I would ride in like a traditional track bike. What I think is really cool about the Courttek is it takes a lot of the traditional track and trick track aesthetic and brings it into a modern frame. The top tube is relatively flat. It's got the external headset. I'm gonna be throwing a Chris King in there, give it that OG trick track look. One of the most noticeable features on here is of course the cutout. This is an aesthetic choice, but it also serves in helping to bring the wheel closer, which makes for a shorter wheelbase and a more nimble and responsive bike. There have been a lot of frames with this cutout, but the geometry isn't always dialed in, and the cutout can sometimes be useless. But the way that these dropouts are set up, the angle of the seat tube and the cutout, you can always get your wheel in there as tight as you can. I'm excited to see what this looks like. That shorter wheelbase is just gonna make the bike feel a lot more playful and nimble. Plus, it just looks really cool. One of the things that does not show up if you're looking at this frame in photos is this incredible teardrop shaped down tube. It is just beautiful and so unique. Supposedly, it can bar spin with 175 cranks, no problem, on all three sizes. That's incredible. Next up is the rear chainstay. Obviously, if you're trying to do trick track, you want a little bit bigger of tires, and you also want to make sure that your rear end is nice and strong and can handle up to the abuse of doing tricks on a bike like this. The frame will accommodate up to 45C, which for me is more than plenty for trick track. There is a gusset on the inside of the chainstays. That's gonna help the rear end be a little bit more rigid and resist bending. Then on the drive side, there is a external gusset that makes it so you can fit a really large chainring. With this large of tire clearance, on the non-drive side, you can see that this chainstay sticks out a little bit longer. You'd either have to run your chainring way too far out, or you would have to run a smaller chainring. But with this gusset, it allows you to run traditional track gearing, which is really cool. Another feature is these chainstays are really wide and flat right here. I guess this was Andy's idea to help with his signature chainstay slider trick. So there is one gusset on this frame, really cool, MBC, Master Bike Co. logo in the style of NJS. I love that little detail. Personally, I would have liked to see more than one gusset because this is an area of a lot of stress. But I'm gonna trust that Master Bike Co. did their research. I know they did some prototyping with the team, so I'm hoping that this will hold up to the abuse of doing tricks. This thing is equipped with a traditional Euro bottom bracket. Speaking of the bottom bracket, on the bottom it's stamped Keo Forever. Shout out to the legend, RIP. Clearly there was a ton of time and effort and energy, and every detail is thought out in this frame. This is a prime example of that. I'm excited to build it up, so let's get into it. But wait, we haven't talked about the fork. So the fork is maybe not as exciting as the frame. One thing that I think is cool is you can purchase these separately. So if you already have a frame that you like, you can throw this fork on there, make a bar spin. It is 1 1/8, so no 1-inchers out there. Pretty traditional fork, 420 axle to crown, relatively light. I'm sure it's heat treated. So unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to do a full new part list for the Courttek. I'm gonna be taking apart my slumworm mash frame. I've had this thing for a few months now. I really like it. I filmed a whole video on it. I just haven't had a chance to edit it yet. If you weren't able to pick up a Courttek before they sold out, I definitely recommend checking this frame out. I really enjoyed it, and I think that there's still a couple sizes left on Mash's website. Also, I gotta give a big shout out to my longtime sponsor, Rough Bike Co. They're gonna be dropping a fixed gear freestyle frame pretty quickly here, so if you were sad that you missed the Courttek, you're thinking about getting into 26-inch freestyle, it's gonna be a really sick frame. More details to come soon. So even though I am recycling a lot of parts for this build, I do have a couple of new things that I'm really excited about. I got the Deity copper head stem. I really like the look of this thing, 31.8 in the shortest length, which is 35 millimeters. For headset, I'm doing the Chris King mounted upside down with the external headset. Can't go with anything else besides Chris King. I wanted to do a little bit of matchy-matchiness on this build. It's been a long time since I've had anything that's remotely brightly colored. I usually just stick to pretty neutral colors, but I really like the pink stickers on the raw frame, but there's just not that many pink parts out there, so I decided to go with purple. And I've got some purple wolf tooth chainring bolts and purple wolf tooth spacers. They actually do a really good job with creating a bunch of different little tidbit parts all in the same color. Kind of cool. I'm also going to be putting on the bottom bracket buddy, which is basically a oversized steel bottom bracket spacer. It's supposed to help with grinds where you're touching the bottom bracket like dusters. I've seen a lot of BMXers run it lately, so I'm excited to try it out. I guess I'm just gonna go through all of my parts for this build and tell you about why I like them. For drivetrain, I'm doing a BMX to track chainring configuration. It's pretty wild. Basically, these are just BMX spline drive cranks. There's a spline drive spider, and that is 144 BCD, and I have that hooked up to the AARN ring. I think this thing is 43 tooth. For pedals, I have some random plastic BMX platform pedals that actually have a little bit of dog poop on them. Ew, kind of gross. I've got the FOAD straps. And oh, my favorite thing I'm most excited about, prototype bash guard. If you remember from my squid build, I had one on there, but it wasn't quite big enough. This one I think is gonna be perfect. I'm excited to try it out. More to share on this soon. So I actually wasn't able to install the bash guard. My chainring bolts just weren't long enough, so more to come on that soon. For bars, I thought about doing new handlebars for this build, but I decided to stick with my Pro Taper bars that I had on my Mash. These things are awesome. I love the look with the raw on one side, black on the other. I have them cut a little bit wider than my shoulders. Some new purple Ori grips. These are the V2 Oris. I wanted to do like a little bit of a throwback to OG fixed gear culture, and Oris are definitely a part of that. These look pretty much the exact same as regular Oris with just a little bit longer of a grip. They come with a bar end, which is not really a bar end, but it's just a piece of plastic. I know I'm gonna throw my bike like 3 times and this thing's gonna get broken, so I might just cut this out and replace it with a regular bar end. For the rear wheel, I have the Level Components Level Hub. If you haven't seen the video I did on this hub, you should definitely check it out. I love this thing, it's awesome. The Level Hub, I believe, has a 17 tooth cog on there, so pretty easy gear ratio, 43/17, but I like it for doing tricks. It's easy to get around town. iTough KOM rim, it's worked great, no problems with it so far. And then I have the Specialized Sawtooth tires. I like these a lot. I believe these are size 38, maybe 42, I'm not exactly sure. So on the non-drive side, I have a BMX plastic hub guard. I believe it's by Cinema. I'm not doing any axle grinds with this bike, but I do pedal feebles, and sometimes when I'm doing a pedal feeble, I'll drop the back end down and it will scratch the dropout on whatever I'm grinding on. You can see some scratch marks here on on the bolt. And I just want to protect the frame as much as I can. For chain, I'm going with my all-time favorite, the Odyssey Bluebird in black. Simple, cheap, works. Purple, quick release seat post clamp. You know, I'm always changing my seat height on my trick track builds, and why not make it just a little bit easier? I wanted to get the Paul component seat post clamp, but they don't make it in the correct size for the Courttek, so I decided to go with the wolf tooth. They make it in purple. It'll match perfectly with all my other little wolf tooth purple components. I'm hoping that I don't get my seat post stolen at some point. Otherwise, I'll regret this. I got a Pro Max black seat post, super basic. I like that this has 2 bolts. And I wanted to get a new seat post because I'm going to mark the height. So I've got the WTB Silverado seat. My favorite seat is the WTB Volt. I think this one came on another bike, stock, and so I'm just gonna use it. I've gotten pretty used to it and have no issues with it, and that's kind of what I want from a saddle. One of the parts that I'm most excited for with this build is my front wheel. I'm putting on an AEROSPOKE. It's ridiculous, it's pretty silly, but I wanted this build to sort of harken back to the OG days of fixed gear when things were loud and bright and colorful and didn't make any sense. And that's what the AEROSPOKE does. I don't know how well it's gonna hold up to the abuse of trick riding, but I guess there's only one way to really find out.
Finally built up the Courttek, now it's time to test it. Except for I've been dealing with a pretty bad ankle injury and haven't been able to ride my bike in a while. So I took it out, but I had to be really careful. I also wasn't able to ride for very long. It's been about a week since I built up the Courttek, and pretty much right off the bat, I knew there were a couple of little tweaks I wanted to make, mostly aesthetic. I had a couple comments saying you shouldn't clamp the frame, which I had no idea about. I'm sure the frame is totally fine. It's burly, it's made for tricks and impacts and all that sort of things, but I had no idea that you're not supposed to clamp a frame. I've been doing that on kind of a lot of bikes, so thank you all for teaching me something new. I didn't really like how the cockpit came together, so I'm gonna put the deity stem on another one of my bikes and then try out this Thompson 70mm stem with the silver faceplate. I think it'll tie everything nicely together. The deity stem has a really short stack, which is nice, but it also requires more spacers, and I'm not quite ready to commit to cutting the fork down again. This Thompson stem's got a little bit more stack, so I think it'll look a little bit nicer. One thing that I struggle with is when I do lower my seat to do tricks, I put it back up, and I obviously don't get the position quite right. So I got this seat post specifically for this frame, and I'm going to mark it just below where the seat collar is in the optimal regular riding position. That way when I do lower it, I'll be able to get it back to the proper height, exactly where I had it before. I don't know why I haven't thought to do this before. Maybe it's because I have, I don't know, really pretty Thompson seat posts, and it would be such a shame to scratch them. But for this one, I just want something that's gonna work, be easy. I originally ordered some valve caps, insert name here, Fillmore caps, but they didn't work on the Presta valves, which is really strange. So I ordered some deity purple valve caps, a little extra touch of purple. It's been a long time since I've done any sort of color on a bike, and so I'm being really nitpicky with this build. I didn't really like how the purple grips didn't match the purple anodized parts, and then there was just the pink stickers on the frame, which had a little bit of purple, but was just kind of out there with nothing else pink to match. So I'm going full in. First up, I bought some pink Ori grips, and I think I'm gonna replace just one of the grips. So I'm gonna have one side purple, one side pink. It's pretty goofy, but I'm gonna try it out. I think it could be kind of fun. But wait, there's more. So the theme has kind of become the two-tone with the purple and the pink and the black and the silver. And I wanted to do something with the AEROSPOKE, but I just wasn't quite sure what. I thought about painting it, doing maybe one side in the purple, one side in the pink, but that I think would be just a little bit too loud. I've thought about wrapping it in vinyl, which I still may want to do. And my last idea, which I just decided to fully go for it, was to completely sticker bomb the AEROSPOKE. And I mean, I'm pretty stoked how it turned out. It's kind of ridiculous. I basically went through, I have an old sticker box of a bunch of fixed gear stickers from back in the day and decided to just fully cover it. Definitely looks ridiculous. which I appreciate. I think that AEROSPOKEs are already kind of ridiculous. So this took me so long. I thought it was going to be like 30 minutes. No, this took me like 2.5 hours. I decided to weigh the AEROSPOKE. I was curious to, one, see how much an AEROSPOKE weighs, and also to see if the stickers made any significant difference. First, I weighed my old front wheel, which matches the specs on the rear wheel, and that came in at just over 1,200 grams. Then the unstickered AEROSPOKE was about 1,600 grams, and the stickered AEROSPOKE was a little over 1,700 grams. So I'm not a weight weenie by any means, but when I first went for the test ride, I could definitely feel the weight of the AEROSPOKE, and it makes a difference. It's gonna really take some getting used to. So I haven't had a chance to really ride my bike yet because my ankle's still kind of hurt and it's been snowing like crazy. But today I think I'm gonna go meet up with Chase, hit a parking garage. He's also got his Courttek, so I'm really excited to see that. Let's go have a sesh. How do you like this thing so far?
It's like one of my new favorites for sure. At the moment, you know. It's like it makes me feel like I'm riding in the past. Like when I was in like high school or something.
That's a good way to describe it.
But it's like the same, everything's like fluid and it just feels proper.
Hell yeah. Ooh. Chase is an absolute shredder on any bike, but it was really cool to see him on his Courttek. He is just killing it. Yeah. Make sure you go give him a follow on TikTok and Instagram at Skirt Reynolds. Chase is still dialing in all the parts on his bike, but I'm planning to do a bike check with him pretty soon. Yes, sir! All in all, I had a great time riding the Courttek. Super poppy, super playful, easy to flick around. One of the things that I like about it a lot is it really can vary depending on how you build it up. I think the way that I've spec'd it makes it a little bit clunky with big tires, a heavy front wheel. Felt like the size large was just a titch too big for me, but on the other hand, I'm closer to that size than I am on the medium, and I do want this to be more of a traditional trick track bike. I want to be able to ride around town on this thing. I also wasn't able to test the full limits of the build because I am still injured and I haven't been on a bike in a while. Chase has the size medium with skinny bars, skinny tires, seat all the way down, and it almost felt like a completely different bike. It almost felt like a fixed gear freestyle bike, to be honest. It's wild. It was easy to flick around. I did a flat 360 on it. Like, it was incredible. I definitely want to keep tweaking the way that I built this out. Chase's build was really inspiring, so I kind of want to try, you know, skinny bars, skinny tires, maybe even put a 650 on there. I thought about adding it into this video, but it's getting way too long, so I'm going to stop here. So make sure you hit that subscribe button because I'm definitely going to have some longer term updates and improvements that I'm going to make on this bike. All in all, I think the Courttek lives up to the hype. It checks all of the boxes. It's an incredible build that just is so versatile. Kudos to Kareem and to Master Bike Co. and the team. New Flame collection. I've talked about it before, but it's finally live on the site. I think there's only like 3 of these hats for sale, a couple beanies. I'm stoked on it. Go check it out, foadgang.com. Go follow Foad, Chase, Master Bike Co. on Instagram and TikTok. That is it for the video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.